Welcome to another episode of All Things Moon with myself, Kelly Jones, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life. And I'm just going to have a little sip of my water, which has a dandelion tincture in, getting ready for spring detoxing already. We could call this All Things Cats, couldn't we? So this was a lovely Christmas gift from my family. It says, "Don't distract me, I'm reading your aura." And a lovely jumper that I got for myself from that was a Christmas vouchers well spent. So in my full expression of myself after the Leo full moon that we had last Wednesday, which I don't know about you, but that was really potent. And the main theme and message of that, if you were listening last week, was how can I be my fullest expression of myself? And knowing that my Venus is in Leo, I have received this week these amazing the business astrology oracle cards by a lady called Catherine Hocking, and she teaches business astrology, which is quite an unusual thing, but something that really has kind of, lit up a little light bulb in me, because a lot of my friends and colleagues are all female heart-led business owners. And I just thought, why not use astrology for our businesses as well? So that's something I'm going to be studying, but I have got the cards out here. And just before I was coming online, I was just giving them a shuffle because they're brand new and they're all still a bit sticky. And I was asking the question, what do I need to do to get out of my own way when it comes to my business? And, what do I need to know? And the two cards that came out were the Rebel and the Mystic. So this is the Aquarius card and this is the Pisces card. And I'm going to be talking quite a bit about these two energies today. So they were perfect for this week's episode. And also, I suppose I am and always have been a little bit of a rebel mystic or a mystic rebel, whichever way round that works. In fact, which way round do you think it works? Let me know. Leave me a little comment, press the like button and send me a comment saying, am I the rebel mystic or the mystic rebel? Anyway, joking aside, we had the full moon in Leo last week, and then on Valentine's Day, in perfect timing to communicate romantically, we had Mercury move into the sign of Pisces. And, it's like everybody wants to be in Pisces, which is why I called this episode All Things Pisces. So, as you know, if you've been listening, Saturn is still in Pisces. Neptune is still in Pisces, but they are in their last sort of final phase, if you like, in that last decan of the signs. They are going to be moving, both those big planets are going to be moving into the sign of Aries in the next few months and the next year. So by 2026, fully in there for a good long stay. But at the moment, we're at that point where they're finishing up in Pisces before they move into a very different energy. And we are fully feeling that Pisces energy at the moment because we have just such a lineup of planets. And I think by the 27th of February, on the 27th of February, there'll be the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Neptune, Saturn, and the North Node, all in Pisces. Massive stellium going on there. So if you were looking for a perfect time to tap into your imagination, your creativity, to do dream work, I had the craziest dream last night. I'm not going to tell you about it, but it was crazy. It's one of those dreams that stays with you after you've woken up, and it just keeps coming to me. And I'm going to sit down with it later with my journal and see if I can see what it represents. It was a little bit about a secret murder. So, anyway, we also, on the 14th, on Valentine's Day, Neptune was literally conjuncting the North Node. So the North Node is not a planet, it's a node of the moon. And the North Node, I suppose, represents where we're headed to collectively. It's kind of like our soul purpose journey. It's something that we want to be going or heading towards, working towards our growth, our personal journeys. And Neptune, the dreamy illusionist, was conjunct the North Node in Pisces on Valentine's Day. So I really hope that there was none of you out there that were under some kind of romantic illusion that kind of got your bubbles burst. So I hope that wasn't an effect of that. And I hope that it just brought some romance for you, and some creativity for sure. The sun moves into Pisces tomorrow. So to celebrate the sun moving into Pisces this week, myself and Tom, after having to cancel last month from being poorly, we have got a gong bath on Friday evening here in Chelmsford in a lovely hall that has been built deliberately with environmental things in mind. I think it's even got like bat boxes and things in the insulation of the building. There's no fences, just hedges and a heated floor, which I'm really looking forward to. And that is to celebrate the sun moving into Pisces. That's on Friday evening. So if you're local to here, then you can book a ticket for that still. You can book a ticket right up until midday on the day if you're not sure. So today, Moon Day. So it's a Monday. I didn't record at the weekend. I would normally record this on a Saturday, but Saturday I spent the day with my lovely teenage nieces, and they were lovely. They're not always lovely because they're teenagers, but they were lovely on Saturday, and it was their Christmas gift that I bought for them, which was a makeup masterclass for teenagers. And that was over in a lovely place called Jellyfish, the Jellyfish Hub in Leigh-on-Sea, which at the front is a hairdresser's and at the back is a beautiful studio. And there was a lovely lady called Zoe Fidgen, and she's a makeup artist, and I left them there for 2 hours, but we did a lovely bit of shopping in Leigh and had some lunch there, and hence the reason I didn't record. And I am recording today on Moon Day. So it is the 17th of February today. And the moon currently, at the moment this morning, is in Libra. By this evening, the moon will have moved into Scorpio. So if today there's a little slight sense of anxious heaviness going on in the background, then that will be just that sense of that Scorpio energy coming on. But then last week, the Leo full moon was square to Uranus. So we had the sun square Uranus, we had the moon square Uranus, and I think we could see in the world where that was bringing light to shocking truths, shocking changes. And I think really, really now, because, dates and things that come around, there always can be slightly debatable. If America has a birth chart, if the UK has a birth chart, do we really know what day that is? We can only sort of go from what we know. And so America has a birth chart. and it is based on the Declaration of Independence that was signed in 1776. And Pluto takes 248 years to go all the way around the zodiac. So we don't get a Pluto return in our human lifetimes. But if you think that countries, they can have Pluto returns because they're there for a lot longer than we are. We have to come back a few times. So we probably come back as a different version in our soul for a Pluto return. But anyway, America has been having its Pluto return. But I think at the moment, it really, really is a true sign that America's Pluto return is in full activation. So Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation. And I really think that America is really seeing those changes, shocking changes and transformation starting to happen. It's like the beginning of that. So if you think the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, 248 years later would be 2024, which is when that Pluto return really, I think, was true. And now we're seeing those changes and transformations starting to occur after that energy has been there. So if you think that Pluto is also now in Aquarius, Aquarius is the innovator, the out-of-the-box problem solver, the genius, inventor, the freedom seeker, the humanitarian. And Pluto is going to be there for the next 20 years. So you've got that Pluto in Aquarius energy, which came after the Pluto having been in Capricorn since 2008. And America's Pluto return has happened during that transitional time. So its actual changes are really occurring during this Aquarian time. And so something that I was listening to, an astrologer that I was listening to who does the World Astrology Report, forgive me, I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but it's a World Astrology Report. He loves to talk about futuristic things and aliens and UFOs and all, slightly conspiracy oriented things, and showing you how they're probably going to come true, or they have come true. He talked about this thing called the Stargate project, which has been mentioned now by the president there and what's his name, the Musk guy. I don't watch TV or the news or anything, so I only ever get any of this information from listening to astrology, so forgive me. But I did look it up to see what it meant, and the Stargate project is a new company which intends to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years building new AI infrastructure in the United States. Okay. So basically, its humanitarian emphasis on it is to create hundreds of thousands of American jobs, generate massive economic benefits for the entire world, to support the reindustrialization of the US, and, national security and things like that. But anyway, how Aquarius is that? Pluto in Aquarius, 500 billion on AI infrastructure. So we can't get away from this. This is coming, isn't it? And if you think that sun and moon in Leo, and Leo being that king, it represents kings and leaders and people in power and people that want to be adored and be in the spotlight and be on center stage. In that square with Uranus, that really is, to me, shows me the president standing up and talking about AI. I mean, this is how we can see that the astrological energies are playing out down here as above, so below. So regardless of what any of us believe about it, you know, I haven't mentioned this to get anybody's opinion on anything, because I'm not really, you know, remember, we've got a lot of Pisces, Neptune, illusionary things, illusion, deception, who knows. But regardless of any of that, it couldn't get much more Aquarius and Uranus if it tried right now. So what else have we had? So we've got this Venus moved into Aries, didn't she? Bringing about our inner warrior goddess. And she's traveling quite slowly through Aries because she's getting closer and closer to the Earth, so that she'll begin her retrograde at the beginning of March. So she'll kind of move forwards, and then, as we know, retrogrades, they appear to be going backwards. So she'll be spending a bit more time in Aries, traveling backwards next month. We had the Leo full moon, bringing our fullest expression from our hearts. And then we still have Mars, poor old Mars, still debilitated in the sign of Cancer until the 23rd, 24th, when we'll start to see a little bit of action being ignited. But, you know, let's just think about it. Like, let's think of it literally, like, you know, my hair getting redder in the sign of Cancer. This is the planet Mars. I'm the Cancerian. So more often than not, if I get fired up and angry, I cry. So my anger tends to go nowhere. It tends to fizzle out quite quickly. I'm not very... I don't really ever know what to do with anger. So if that gives you an idea where Mars is in Cancer, and 23rd, 24th, it stations to go direct. But if you think of a speedboat that's been stranded at sea for a couple of months, it might cough and choke and splutter a little bit and need to run the engine for a bit in neutral for a while before it actually starts moving again. It would be a sensible thing to do, just to make sure everything's chugging over. So Mars is actually going to be stationing at 17 degrees in the sign of Cancer. So if we think of those 0 to 29 degrees of each sign, as it gets to 17 degrees, that's when that's when some action can start to happen again. But as I said, it's very slow action. It's not going to go full speed ahead really until April, when it starts to move back into Leo. But it's actually going to be stationed at 17 degrees of Cancer until the 9th of March. So it's stationed direct in neutral, basically, for quite a long time. So you still got plenty of time to come out of your deep, dark cave of self-reflection. So if you're not quite done with that self-reflection time and that planning time that I recommended that you do, and probably if you're anything like me, you will have had some epiphanies during this time. Like, as we know, that knocked me completely out of action, and both Tom and I were poorly, and that gave us time, you know, so when you're slightly weaker but you're still, it gives you space to have some realizations, to think of something maybe that you wouldn't have thought of before. And I've really had those around my 8th house subjects, because that's where my Mars is. So Mars is going to be traveling back over my Mars. My Mars is at 23 degrees. So fortunately, it's not 17 degrees, because that would just be painful. So if you have any planets at 17 degrees of Cancer, in your chart, have a look around that in that house area, because Mars is going to be sitting over that. So you're going to feel that starting up energy, that Mars being there, just making sure that everybody who's got something at those degrees is really going to know about it, and you're really going to have to do something about it this time. But yeah, you've got plenty of time left to come out of your cave of self-reflection and take action on your epiphanies. I thought, well, because Mars is at 17 degrees of Cancer for quite a considerably long time before it actually moves to 18 degrees on the 9th of March, I looked up the Sabian symbols. So Sabian symbols are, I think it maybe was in the 1920s or something. I think the lady was called maybe Elsie Wheeler, but it was, they were like channeled messages for every degree of the zodiac. So it's like a symbolic message for all 360 degrees of the zodiac. So this is a Sabian symbol for 17 degrees of Cancer. The germ grows into knowledge and life. So I was like, germ? Well, we don't want germs to grow, do we? But I thought maybe more of germination. What are you growing, or what have you been growing? And what have you got a little bit more time to focus on growing whilst it's at that 17 degrees? But the caution would be, because it's hovering there, getting ready for action, try not to do things that aren't fully developed. Trying to do things that aren't fully developed, rushing and missing vital parts in the situation. So if you think, quite often, if you try and force a seedling to grow, if you plant it before it's ready to be planted outside, it's still like about 2 or 3 degrees here. If I've been propagating something indoors and then I thought, oh, hurry up, I haven't got time, I'm not patient, I would just want you to grow, and I stick it in the ground outside, it could wither and die and turn into nothing. So that's the caveat for this, I think, the message from that. The germ grows into knowledge and life. So what are you germinating? What are you growing? And don't try and force it to happen. That's, get the knowledge that you need so that you can give it life. So Mars in Cancer, Mars the warrior, Cancer a bit needy. So Mars can be what you might term a whiny warrior in Cancer, or at its lowest expression, it may have felt like depression. So if you felt a little depressed or very depressed, Mars in Cancer, it is a thing. It could be a symptom of that depression. So just, take some nice deep breaths and know that this energy is passing, and it always does. Just like bad weather, it does pass eventually. And it's been pretty grim, the weather recently, but the sun's shining today, so we had all the sparkles from my disco moon in the window this morning, which this one on my lap here, she absolutely loves chasing the sun, don't you? So yeah, myself, I am prone to the dark cloud of depression if I am not fully conscious and wary. So being so deep and sensitive, it can quite often feel like nobody really understands, and you're very on your own with those deep thoughts. And this Mars energy in Cancer could have felt a bit like that. So, I'm fully aware that this really, really long transit, knowing which house area of my life it would be showing up, which was the 8th house of joint finances, debt, inheritance, and ultimately transformation. So hence where I've been talking to you about doing a bit of a deep dive into my wounds around wealth, having some epiphanies around the subject of joint finances for me, and where I give my power away, because I'm like a little child when it comes to that subject. I was just talking to my mum about how I was giving my nieces some advice about really learning how to do bills and deal with money way before they leave home, because I can remember having terrible panic attacks and anxiety around bills and things, because nobody ever showed me. They don't show you at school how to survive these things. They just give you a load of things that might come in handy one day, maybe. But not really useful, practical things for actually surviving on a day-to-day basis. So, deep diving into those wounds that I have carried within me, that have played out in behavior and patterns and sabotage. And looking at how I will transform this area of my life going forwards. And, I've even had the opportunity through the sad departure of a family friend from my childhood. So one of my dad's very best friends that we grew up with, their children, and literally in the same room as the people that I developed those beliefs around. So, catharsis is a very cathartic situation, cutting the cords that keep us stuck in those sabotage situations, those sabotage patterns. So, yeah, Mars in Cancer. So, aside from the fallout from all of that from the past week, we've got the Sun joining Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node in the last sign of the zodiac, which is Pisces. So Pisces, all things Pisces. What are all things Pisces? So in its highest expression, Pisces is a mutable sign. So it's very adaptable, it's mystical. Where's that card? So here's that beautiful card these are Catherine Hocking's cards. So that is an image of Pisces, that mystical, artistic, devoted, compassionate, romantic, selfless, no boundaries, fluid flowing, watery, emotional. But the lower expression of that can be indecision, being very indecisive, can actually cause you to rage, oversensitive, scatterbrained, escapism, idealism, and naivety. They can be the lower expression if somebody's not conscious of themselves, if they don't know themselves. And that energy is very much around right now with all those planets there. These are all the energies and things that it can bring up and highlight for us. So things like imaginative thinking, creative storytelling, spiritual insights. My North Node, so you have a look where your North Node is. But my North Node is in Pisces, and that is the 4th house area. So the 4th house area is to do with house and home. So the Sun, as it moves into Pisces, is going to be shining right over my North Node, which is at the very beginning of Pisces. So it's going to be shining on that part of my chart for the next couple of days. So that could suggest that I might be reimagining what home means to me, and I have been. So once again, before I even looked at this, to see what I could tell you about it, and I always look at my own chart to see what's going on. I've got a Pinterest board where I've been reimagining our room of doom, the spare room, which has then escalated into us reimagining our front room downstairs as well. And I have been imagining moving. I've got a whole little manifestation scenario going on. And so when I go to bed before I go to sleep, I imagine it as if it was real. So yes, I'm not quite sure whether secret murder from my neighbours came into my dream, but there we go. Also, I was around my brothers at the weekend, and one of their very good friends and neighbours was round, and she said to me, "Oh, Kelly," she said, "could just pick you up and put you right in the middle of Hackney in London or something. I don't know why you're living here. You really would suit living in London." And I told her about how much I'd been to other places like Seattle and places that would suit me much better. We were off to Cornwall for Tom's birthday present, down to Newquay. We're flying down there just for the weekend. I'm so excited about going to Cornwall. If I could pick myself up and move myself somewhere where it suited me better, that's where I would be. So I am reimagining all things house and home at the moment. North Node in Pisces can, because it's that soul purpose stuff, it can indicate self-discovery and also activate healing around where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. It can also indicate a shift in mental health and addictions, in a positive way, but it can bring light to it. I'm going to have a new moon in Pisces soon, so a really good time to begin again and think about, what you want to be manifesting for yourself, what your wishes and dreams are. It's the best time to be dreaming. We've got Saturn there. So Saturn gives us that discipline around our spiritual practices and gives our spiritual aspirations and dreams and things some kind of solid foundation, can make it real, can turn dreams into reality. Let's make the most of Saturn still being in Pisces. And then once he moves into Aries, it's full steam ahead. Remembering that Pisces is very empathetic, compassion. So all of this energy in there, it will encourage a greater sense of compassion in the world. And obviously ways to work with this energy would be to, dive into your art, into your writing, poetry, anything that's imaginative for you, anything that brings you joy and healing, and of course meditation, journaling, exploring yourself, going deeper into your own self, manifesting your dreams into reality, tangible outcomes. That's why I'm lying there at night and really imagining what it'll really be like, sound like, feel like, smell like, taste like to be in that new home, in that new place. So yeah, with all these planets there, merging that creative, imaginative dream into practical reality, but also giving us that sense of magic and mystical and that unseen, ethereal energy as well. How will you utilize this dreamy, mystical, and imaginative energy? That's something for you to journal on. we're being called at this time to go with the flow rather than trying to force outcomes. Remember what I said about Mars trying to grow things too quickly. Strala Yoga is all about soft is the new strong, soft and movable on the outside, strong and resilient on the inside. You know, listen to your heart, trust that dreams are possible. So by the time I speak to you next, the sun will have moved into Pisces. I will have done a lovely gong bath. And also I'm going off to see the lovely Rebecca Campbell next Saturday night. She's going to be doing an evening all about her new book, which I think I've got it over there. It's over there, yeah. Your soul had a dream and your life is it. Couldn't be more perfectly timed as the sun moves into Pisces to be going to an evening all about your soul had a dream and your life is it. So on that note, I'm going to leave you because we're at 36 minutes now. And if you'd like to know your birth chart a bit better and get a reading with me, then you can find the link to my website, kellyjones.me, in the show notes. Please, 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 if you could press the like button, if you could subscribe to my channel, if you could share and get this out to more people, then I would be super grateful because, you know, what is this information if I just keep it to myself? And yeah, Pisces, blessings to you all, and I'll see you next week.